Today is another dock project, and so the first part of the project is getting the raft out from its storage spot underneath the finished section of dock. This raft has been really helpful in working on the lower part of the dock. It gives me a place to stand that's fairly stable. It's wider and a bit more stable than using the dinghy to work on the dock. I've got ropes attached to the front and the back of the raft, and those are used to hold the raft in place when I'm working on parts of the dock, and also used to secure it underneath the other half of the dock when I'm not using the raft. So I guess I've gone a little bit too far this way. I can't reach the finished part of the dock, but just a little push here and I'll be right where I need to be. And there's the rope at this near end of the raft, and it's just going to be secured to that piling next to the finished section of dock. And the other rope at the front of the raft will wind up being secured to one of those short pilings. I think they're called dead man pilings, that are preventing the seawall from falling down any more than it already has. I'm getting pretty good at hopping on and off the raft. I haven't fallen in the canal once. I probably shouldn't have said that, because that will make it happen next time. So this is a pretty big crack, and it goes in really deep. I mean, I can get my finger in there more than an inch before it gets too narrow for the finger. The crack, I don't think, goes all the way to the center of the piling, but it goes in pretty far. So this first layer is some catalyzed polyester resin, and I didn't put any thickener in this first layer, and I'm trying to get it to go all the way to the back of the crack, and I'll wind up painting any exposed wood here with this resin. And the hope is that this thin resin will soak into the pores of the wood a bit and seal it. The goal is to prevent any more water from soaking into the wood and causing more rot. As I'm doing the cracks, I'm shoving the brush as far into the crack as it will go, and then sort of pushing it back and forth against the back end of the crack, trying to squeeze resin out of the bristles and even further into the crack. The goal is to have no unprotected wood way at the center where water might come in and pool there and cause more rot to continue. And you can see I'm painting any of the exposed wood. So this next batch I've mixed with thickener and also some chopped glass fibers to give it a little bit of strength, but mainly to thicken it up so that it's not so watery. It's not quite like peanut butter, it's a little bit thinner than that. because I want it to flow a bit into the very back of the crack. And you can see that it runs and flows quite a bit more than like the peanut butter version of this. It's just a little bit less thickener in this, because I wanted to be able to shove it to the very back of the crack and get it to flow into any spaces that are left there. And this gets done in several stages. This first thickened batch, the main goal is to shove it all the way to the back of the crack and get the very back of the crack coated with resin. And it's not going to fill the entire crack like this in the first layer. I'm just going to get this as far back into the crack as I can. Not really worrying about filling the crack, but filling the very back part of the crack. And once I'm through with this, I'll let this resin set up, and then I'll come back with another layer of thickened resin and another, and slowly build up. On each pass, the crack is a bit less deep, and eventually I'll build up layers until I'm up at the surface of the piling and the crack will be completely filled in. So I put pretty much that whole half cup of thickened resin into the crack, and some little remainders I'm sort of spreading around on the piling. The chopped glass fibers, I think, will make a little bit more durable layer on the outside, and I tried to spread that over the upper part of the crack to seal that as best I can. There. Some of the fibers will go across the crack and sort of seal it up there. And that's just it for this batch of resin. And in the end, I wind up doing 3 or 4 coats like this to build up until I've gotten to the outside of the piling and the entire crack will be filled. The camera batteries were running down, so I didn't really get all the layers filmed, but it looked pretty much like what you saw there already. And now I've painted a layer of gel coat on the outside to protect that resin from ultraviolet light, because it'll crack and peel off very quickly if it's not protected from the sun. And here's your bonus footage for today.
This big bird.
My cat wants to bite that bird, even though the bird is probably 5 times bigger than the cat. That railing that the bird is sitting on is made out of a 2x6, so that gives you some sense of scale. The bird is probably 3 feet tall when he has his neck standing up.
There's little guy.